Well, let's swing it over NBA. So we got the finals. Your predicted matchups. Really, I think since the bubble started. Um, you didn't predict the Miami Heat while we were getting regular season action. You said you liked them a lot, but once the bubble started, you're like, keep your eyes on the Heat. And then
Yeah,
you were on the Lakers all season, which I'm assuming is the case. Are you going to stick with the Lakers?
I'm gonna stick with the Lakers, just even though I'm pulling for the Heat.
Yeah.
I am gonna stick with my Lakers choice. I feel like with everything with it's kind of like they're at another level. This is the stuff that LeBron's legacy will hinge on. Because obviously it's a different season, but when people talk about him, they talk about how many finals trips he's had and how many wins. This is his 10th trip to the finals. Um, 9 out of the last 10 years, LeBron James has been in the finals, which is really incredible.
That's
And
why I always laugh when people were like, we saw
he's
it during the.
three for nine.
Sorry, what was that? I
So,
talked over you. What'd you say, Sam?
oh no, and I said, yeah, I mean, he's 3 for 9. So I think
Oh,
he
right.
needs this. I think he needs his fourth one. You know,
Yeah, I mean, when he went to the finals with the Cavs the first time against the Spurs, I mean, give me a break. He had no shot at
hmm
that one, right? I mean,
right,
they had
right.
nothing. And that to me is LeBron's legacy more than anything else, is that he's taken crap and garbage to the finals. Once he had some running mates with the Heat, he went to however many straight finals he won. Was it two of them there, or did he win three
Two
with the
out of
Heat?
three. 2 out of 3.
Yeah, he
Yep.
lost one to the Spurs, beat the Spurs, and lost. No, no, no. He lost to the Spurs. He lost to the Spurs and the Mavs, so he might have been
And the
two and
map.
two.
So two. Yeah. So yeah, 2 and 2.
Yes,
Um.
and that was
Yeah.
his first season. He went, and the Mavericks ended up winning that one in six. And then, really, I think they probably should have lost two to the Spurs, but Ray Allen hit that 3-pointer,
Yeah.
and that was that, and they ended up winning. So and then he goes back to Cleveland, and I think they had no business winning that championship when he
Yeah.
won against the Warriors, but they won. That's his legacy. Like, I don't care about his record. I don't. And if I'm comparing him to Michael Jordan, look, I think Michael Jordan historically is the better player. I had the benefit, thankfully, of watching Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Like a lot of fans today, especially people that follow this show and this network, they're in a younger demographic, so they might have been alive when the Bulls were going on that run, but they weren't watching it. And we were like, gosh, we must have been in our low teens and maybe even into single digits when the Bulls started. But I remember those vividly. I remember rooting for Larry Bird. I was a Celtics fan. I remember Magic Johnson still playing before HIV and all that stuff. But like, I think Jordan is like the Jordan and Pippen era. They would have beaten these teams. I have no doubt. But LeBron is the second best player in the NBA history of all time. And you could even, if you want to argue and say he's 1A, you want to give me analytics and stuff. I don't care about analytics. I care about what I see. And I think LeBron is definitely at least the second best player of all time. And for anybody to argue otherwise, I think is goofy.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, and I think this year, with the Lakers as well, like, they've had everything with the Kobe stuff, and they already have it set where if they're in Game 7, they're going to wear those black Mamba jerseys and all
That's a
this stuff.
that's a
I
weird
just,
that's a weird thing. Like why
yeah,
why
I know.
why plan your outfit for Game 7?
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
they should. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the players. That's just
It's-
them trying to,
Look,
garner up some interest in this weird bubble time.
yeah,
But
yes. I'm a competitive guy. You're a competitive guy. If I'm the Miami Heat and I'm hearing that they're planning their outfits for Game
yeah,
7, I'm feeling pretty good mentally right now.
right, right, right.
Jimmy Butler. You think he's worried about the Mamba outfit in Game 7? Give me a break.
No, he's not. No,
That's
he's
such a
not.
goofy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm pulling for the Heat. I would love to see the Heat win. But I also like to see greatness, and I mean the way LeBron's been playing, and another tip in his cap. It would be to get this championship, and it's incredible. 10 times to the finals. I mean, that's just something
It is
that
unreal.
I
Yeah.
don't know, with all the parity and everything going on, to have one single player be able to do that. And like you said, some of the teams he's brought there is, really
They're
had no.
garbage.
You take him off the team, and I don't think
And
the
we've
teams
seen
are
that.
sniffing the playoffs.
We've seen that
so.
multiple times where you've taken him off the team and they've been in the lottery. I mean, come on, guys, come on. The game one, by the way, I believe it's tonight as of the recording. So by the time this drops, it'll be in the past. But the Lakers, Bovada has at -5 in game one. Who do you like in game one?
I'm going to take the Lakers. I think the Lakers are going to win this thing in five. Um, just because I think they're on a whole nother level of and I think they want to get out of there. I think these teams
All
are.
these
I think
teams want to get it done.
these teams just want to get it done. I mean, they've been there for, sheesh, man. When did they go in? July. You know, they're ready. I think you could tell by LeBron, AD, all these players. I think they're just ready. They're ready to go. The big thing will be, where do we where do we get the bench play? Is Dwight Howard going to be an X factor like he was, in the last series? The Heat can go small, which will favor them, in many regards if they start going small and shooting the ball really well. It'll be very interesting. Like I said, I'm pulling for the Heat, but I think Lakers in five.
Yeah, so looking at basically the futures, right? We just talked about the game, but Bovada has Miami plus 525, which is that's a nice line. People continue. I think it should be closer, and the Lakers are minus 425. So the bettors are hard on the Lakers, and it's hard to argue against that because LeBron James is so damn good, and it
Right.
lasts. We were talking about Jordan before, and this happened with Jordan, and Karl Malone winning a couple of those MVPs. But that's why I always laugh, and I have discussions, and it's usually with people that are about for us, Sam. We're in kind of our upper 30s at this point. It's usually with people that are in their upper 20s or younger. And I always hear about maybe not so much this year, but remember Russell Westbrook with his averaging the triple double and stuff. He's got to be the MVP. You talk about James Harden with the scoring, all this stuff. I'm just like, give me a break, man. Like, you take those guys off of that team, they're still winning games. They're still winning games. You take LeBron off, we've seen this.
Right.
We've seen it. You take LeBron off the team, and they're lottery teams, like, all the time. He just makes everybody better. And people want to, like, harp on LeBron and say that, he passes up the game-winning shot. I'm sorry, Jordan did that in 2 NBA Finals key moments with Paxton and Kerr. Like, those guys won the finals with the last shot. Those guys, because Michael Jordan on the sideline, he's like, yeah, they're going to be crashing me. Be ready for the shot. The difference is LeBron didn't have guys that could make the shot, and Michael did. Really, in a lot of these situations. So I don't mind passing. It's the right basketball play. I saw an article too, Sam, this year while they were in the bubble, and they're just talking about. I think they got all the teams that beat LeBron in the playoffs. They went to the Pistons, basically the teams that kept LeBron out of the finals. And it's been few. I think there were like 6 teams. So they talked about who was the guy? Who was the really good defender for those Pistons teams when they had Ben Wallace?
Tayshaun Prince.
Tayshaun Prince, thank you. Tayshaun Prince they interviewed. I think they had Bruce Bowen from the Spurs. And they were just talking about, like, hey, the progression. And Tayshaun Prince is like, oh, we could do stuff. Basically, all we had to do was just clog the lane and run into him because he didn't have an outside shot yet. And it got to the point where, I don't know if maybe they were talking about the Warriors. Maybe they did have some finals teams in there because Bruce Bowen was there. Or maybe anyway. But they were saying, like, at this point, LeBron's just a computer. He makes the right play every single time he comes down the court. He has an outside shot. He can still take you to the rim. What do you do against this guy?
Yeah, he's unbelievable, and this is what, year 17?
That's incredible too.
Yeah. And the amount of Olympics this guy's played in, the amount of how late in the season, amount of everything, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I hate when we do the comparing Michael to LeBron. They're
Everybody
different
does it, right?
I hate it, though. It's so lazy. Like, it's a different era. It's a different time. Just enjoy what we're getting to see. I hate the comparison because they are totally different players, and it's just to me it's lazy, and it's taking a focus away from the present, and that's what we need to enjoy when we have a player that is in year 17 playing this dominant, still high flying through the air, making, like you said, making the right plays, making the smart decisions. A guy who has really no blip outside of the decision on
Right.
his, and that was even a career move. But you have no outside, like,
And by
no
the way, that
arrests,
raised
no
millions for
scandals,
charity.
no scandals, no nothing. Like, this guy has been, a model citizen, a brand ambassador,
More of a
and
social advocate these days, which I think is
social
a very,
advocate. Yeah, I mean, the guy, he's been incredible, and I hate the comparison, even though we all have done it, we've all made it. It's just it's two different times, it's two different players. Let's enjoy what we're watching.
I love there was a line from a couple years ago. I believe it was, people were talking about the Warriors because the Warriors were streaking, and Steve Kerr was, of course, on the Bulls teams, the second three-peat, and then coaching the Warriors. And the media asked him something about the Bulls. Could they have, or maybe somebody made the comment that the Bulls would have run through the Warriors, and they asked Kerr about it, and Kerr just kind of laughed it off. He's just like, oh yeah, all the old guys, they're just always better than what's going on now. And he was making the same note, tongue-in-cheek, of what you're saying. It's different eras. You can't really compare them. But what he said, it made me laugh. He's like, the guys in the 30s would have beaten the crap out of all of us, because we always want to talk about the older generation and how kind of stupid it is to compare. Like, you could put computer projection models out there, but you can't. You can't do that because guys that could bang earlier in their career. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Vlade Divac was a pretty good player when he played. In today's NBA, I think he'd be a lot better because of his skill set and what he could do and how he could spread the floor. Back then, he was an all-star, don't get me wrong. He might even be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he was a good player, but he'd be way better today. Arvydas Sabonis, who we saw with the Portland Trailblazers back. Was it Arvydas Sabonis? Am I getting that right? Am I getting the right Sabonis? Yeah. These centers with skills, they weren't really used back then the way they could be used today. I mean, shoot, he'd be a small forward today. Seriously, like he dropped some weight, he could be a small forward. Like, these guys were
imagine Vlade not ripping cigs at halftime.
Yeah,
if you had these guys, in the conditions that these guys are in now too as well.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's totally different. We looked at Arvydas Sabonis like crazy when he would take a three, even though the guy could drill them all day.
Yeah.
His coach didn't really want him out there shooting because the big guy was supposed to have their back to the basket, and that type of thing. So we looked at him weird. He didn't come over, until the NBA, until his almost mid-30s, I think, finally came over, because his skill set wasn't, seen as something that was used here. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Guys like that would be prime players in this day and age,
Yeah, and like Dirk Nowitzki, right? He's the one who kind of cracked the mold. He was European, but the 7-footer who wasn't back-to-basket guy. And then that's when things started changing, and then the analytics get involved, and now teams just take threes with reckless abandon, which I don't love, watching.
Right.
But that is what it is, and it's the right analytically thing to do for sure.
Yeah, when you got a guy like Kevin Durant who's 7 feet, pulling up, taking 35 footers, it's just a different game, man.
Different world.